It's hard to believe how much controversy can spring up from a single shoe release, but that's exactly what happened the moment A'ja Wilson and Nike announced their latest collaboration. Overnight, social media lit up with equal parts celebration, confusion, and heated debate. Some fans cheered, while others accused A'ja and Nike of toying with people's emotions. Why did it take so long for one of the NBA's biggest stars to get her own sneaker? And how did another rising star, Caitlin Clark, become the unintentional lightning rod for an even bigger conversation about race, brand power, and who gets the spotlight in women's sports? In this video, we're diving deep into the twists, turns, and everything in between. There's more than meets the eye here, and the real story might just surprise you. Before we can unpack all the chaos swirling around A'ja Wilson's upcoming shoe, we have to understand her journey. This is a player who soared through college, dominating the court with her unique blend of power and finesse. By the time she hit the WNBA, expectations were sky high, and for good reason. She didn't disappoint. From earning Rookie of the Year to leading her team to a championship, she racked up accolades at a breakneck pace. Fans were convinced she'd be the next household name in women's sports marketing. Early on, Nike recognized her potential and signed her. The brand touted her athleticism, leadership, and dynamic presence as the perfect pillars to shape a new wave of women's basketball merchandise. Yet for years, A'ja's supporters scratched their heads, wondering, where's her signature shoe? If there was anyone capable of anchoring a sneaker line that might capture mainstream attention, it was A'ja Wilson. But as time went on, that signature model never seemed to materialize. People started to speculate, was Nike wavering in their support? Was the WNBA star not marketable enough in their eyes? The seeds of doubt were planted, and they blossomed into full-on frustration for some fans who believed A'ja wasn't getting her due. But little did they know, the real tinder for this fire was about to come from an entirely different source, and that source arrived in the form of a rising college sensation, bringing along a wave of controversy that no one saw coming. While A'ja Wilson's many admirers clamored for her signature line, an interesting rumor started making the rounds. A certain college phenom, Caitlin Clark, was on track to get her own shoe deal. Whether it was fact or hearsay, the whispers alone fueled endless debates. Online forums, sports talk segments, and Twitter threads lit up with speculation. Around the same time, A'ja dropped a cryptic tweet that read, "What is delayed is not denied." It was vague enough to mean just about anything, but in the context of a brand new Caitlin Clark rumor, fans interpreted it as a pointed statement, a subtle jab at Nike for allegedly overlooking A'ja in favor of a younger, buzzier player. Even some of A'ja's staunchest defenders found themselves a bit confused. If A'ja had known about her own shoe deal since 2023, as some sources claimed, why post such a mysterious message right then? People latched onto that tweet, and it spread like wildfire. Suddenly, casual observers and hardcore fans alike were pitting A'ja against Caitlin, a showdown the athletes themselves never officially declared. Yet the momentum behind this perceived rivalry only kept growing. One comment from A'ja and one rumor about Caitlin managed to shake the entire women's basketball community and cause enough turmoil to make international headlines. But the real shockwave came when race entered the conversation, sending tensions soaring and propelling the situation from a mere marketing mystery to a full-blown cultural debate. As the rumor mill churned, A'ja gave an interview where she mentioned that black women are often overlooked in sports marketing. She cited her own experience, suggesting that no matter how hard black female athletes work, it's never seen as marketable enough by major brands. For some viewers, her words were a clarion call. Finally, someone was speaking openly about a bitter truth in the industry. For others, it felt like an oversimplification. If race was the only stumbling block, they argued, how had black female athletes in tennis, track, and basketball themselves reached massive success with sponsors? Like a match dropped on dry grass, social media erupted. Hashtags about #Justice for A'ja circulated alongside heated debates about whether race was or wasn't the primary factor. Sports analysts, journalists, and everyday fans got pulled into heated arguments that often strayed far from the original topic of sneaker deals. The "delayed is not denied" tweet started to look even more pointed in hindsight. Some argued Asia's frustration was justified. Perhaps Nike really had sidelined her for years while boosting other, less accomplished athletes. Others pointed to Asia's impressive resume, questioning how she could claim she was swept under the rug when she was already a day champion, league MVP, and top Nike endorser. This tension didn't just impact Asia or Caitlin, it radiated across the WNBA, with players and media figures taking sides, calling out perceived injustices, or urging calm in a rapidly escalating online war of words. Meanwhile, in the middle of all this uproar, Nike's reaction raised even more eyebrows, leading some to believe that the entire controversy might be part of a cunning marketing plot. Let's take a step back and look at how Nike appeared to handle the growing uproar. Instead of swiftly clarifying Asia's contract timeline or issuing a statement to quell misinformation, the brand seemed to let the conversation spiral. Asia remained relatively tight-lipped, despite being at the center of a media whirlwind. Observers started asking, was the controversy part of the plan? It's no secret that controversy can drive engagement. Debate, tension, and speculation keep people glued to social media, refreshing their feeds for the latest development. Could it be that Nike was using the "they're overlooking me" narrative to stoke public interest in Asia's release? After all, in the world of marketing, any publicity, even if it's overshadowed by drama, can translate to sales. As fans poured over Asia's interviews and tweets, her brand awareness skyrocketed. Suddenly, more people who barely followed the WNBA were talking about her. Online searches for her name surged, and so did curiosity about her upcoming shoe line. Some cynics even claimed that the entire fiasco had been staged from the beginning, orchestrated to create a moral outcry that would pique consumer interest. Yet, if that was the strategy, it came with risks. While some folks love a compelling redemption arc, others detest feeling manipulated. If Asia and Nike were indeed capitalizing on the tension between college and professional star power or between different racial groups of fans, it was a risky gamble. One misstep could turn public sentiment sour, derailing sales and harming both Asia's and Nike's reputations in the long run. And as if the marketing speculation wasn't intense enough, more players from across the WNBA media landscape began to chime in, often fanning the flames more than dousing them. In a controversy like this, everyone has an opinion, especially fellow athletes and sports commentators. WNBA players like Sydney Colson joked that she might get a shoe before Asia, inadvertently confirming how widespread the confusion had become. Media personalities who once focused on game highlights and player stats found themselves analyzing cryptic tweets and analyzing brand marketing strategies. It felt as though the entire women's basketball community was laser-focused on every new snippet of information. Some members of the WNBA old guard, longtime reporters or insiders, dismissed the Caitlin Clark rumors and Asia's cryptic tweets as overblown or sensationalized. They argued that fans were missing the bigger picture. Asia's shoe had been in the works for months, maybe years. Yet, whether intentionally or not, their comments sometimes trivialized the frustration many fans felt about delayed recognition for NBA stars. All of this chatter inevitably shaped Asia's public image. On one hand, she gained more supporters who viewed her as a bold athlete, refusing to let injustice slide. On the other, critics hammered her for allegedly weaponizing racial tension to gain an edge. The lines between activism, self-promotion, and brand building became blurrier than ever, and the more the conversation skewed toward personal identity clashes, the less it seemed to focus on basketball itself. As controversies go, this one was unique for spotlighting how sports, society, and consumerism collide, a collision that only intensified when the debate started zeroing in on a single issue. Was race really at the heart of the matter, or was it something else entirely? A'ja Wilson spoke her truth. She felt black female athletes often had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Some fans rallied behind her, recalling examples of prominent black female athletes who had to fight tooth and nail to secure equal endorsement opportunities. Others brought up success stories like Serena Williams, Simone Biles, Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie, to illustrate that while challenges exist, being a black woman in sports doesn't automatically doom an athlete to obscurity. This tug of war extended beyond the WNBA. Media outlets that rarely touched women's sports suddenly ran feature piece on the A'ja-Caitlyn rivalry, often focusing on racial politics. Clickbait headlines implied that Caitlyn's prospective shoe deal was a personal affront to A'ja's achievements. In reality, Caitlyn had yet to publicly confirm the details of her rumored deal, and A'ja had already known about her own signature line for a while. For skeptics, the race narrative felt like an overreach. Maybe this was just about personal marketability and timing. After all, brand deals hinge on more than raw skill. Players with a magnetic public persona, strong social media presence, and consistent on-court performance often get the biggest campaigns. And while A'ja is undoubtedly skilled, some critics argued she leaned too heavily into the idea of being victimized instead of simply outshining the competition with her game and her personality. Still, beyond the heated debates, it's important to see the practical outcomes. How did all this shape A'ja's reputation, her social media approach, and the financial success of her upcoming sneaker? As the debate raged on, A'ja took a step that surprised many. She blocked her account from people who didn't follow her on social media. Whether it was a defensive measure against online trolls or a strategic move to limit negative PR, the effect was polarizing. Supporters applauded her for protecting her mental health, while critics claimed she was trying to insulate herself from valid criticism. Meanwhile, sneaker analysts predicted that the swirling publicity might actually boost her shoe sales. Curious onlookers who had never given a second thought to women's basketball were suddenly eager to see what all the fuss was about. Countless fans pledged to buy A'ja's shoe as a show of solidarity. Others insisted they would boycott her products, accusing her of fanning divisive flames. This episode could have lasting implications, not just for A'ja, but for future endorsements of WNBA stars. Corporate brands often watch how controversies unfold, analyzing whether drama drives profits or sinks a campaign. If Nike and A'ja manage to turn this turmoil into triumph, raking in sales and changing the conversation around women's sports marketing, don't be surprised if more companies adopt a similar approach. On the flip side, if the backlash proves too damaging, it could discourage sponsors from betting big on WNBA players in the same way. All that's left is to look at the bigger picture. How did we get here? And what does this story say about the intersection of fame, race, and business in women's sports? By now, we've traveled through every twist and turn of the A'ja Wilson sneaker saga. We've seen how a single tweet, "What is delayed is not denied," morphed into a cultural touchpoint, sparking debates over race, brand favoritism, and who truly has the power in the sports world. We've witnessed the fervor that a few choice words can create, especially when they collide with rumors about a rising college star like Caitlin Clark. Whether you believe this was a legitimate outcry against systemic bias or a carefully orchestrated marketing maneuver, one thing is certain: controversy sells. When a conversation spreads like wildfire, people pay attention, and in the world of big business, attention often translates to profit. But even bigger questions remain. Is this the new normal for sports endorsements, where tensions are manufactured to generate clicks and cash? Or will the spotlight on A'ja Wilson's experience compel brands to be more transparent and equitable in how they promote female athletes? Ultimately, the story is still unfolding, and the real test will be in how A'ja's new shoe line performs. Will the controversy fade away as soon as the sneakers hit the shelves, or is this just the beginning of a larger movement reshaping the WNBA and beyond? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: none of us will be looking at a simple sneaker drop quite the same way again. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to share your thoughts. Does this controversy reveal a persistent bias in sports marketing, or is it just an example of hype culture run wild? I'd love to hear what you think. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep questioning the stories behind the headlines.